What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. After almost 18 years, we're coming to the end of an era for Xbox, specifically one legendary system and the service attached to it, which we'll go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about a new game system that's leaked out early, showing us that, I guess, Lenovo got a peek at Nintendo's homework. And we'll also be talking about a new Walking Dead game that was announced. People got excited at the premise, then they saw it and, well, disappointment set in. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're going to start today with Alan Wake 2, as it has actually been delayed roughly 10 days or so. We can see this posted up over on X, where they say an update from the Alan Wake 2 team. We're moving Alan Wake 2's launch from October 17th to October 27th. October is an amazing month for game launches, and we hope that this date shift gives us more space for everyone to enjoy their favorite games. We can't wait to show you what everyone's favorite novelist is up to in the dark place next week. Thanks for your patience. So they're obviously referencing Gamescom coming up next week, where they will be in attendance with some sort of showcase around Alan Wake 2. But this is interesting because typically we'll kind of speculate at the idea that maybe a game's release date was moved, whether it's moved up, maybe even it's going to happen sooner, or just kind of pushed back into the year, even the following year, because there are big games around it that might overshadow it. In this case, they're just upfront. Hey, there's a lot of stuff hitting in those 10 days. I mean, between October 10th and the 20th, a lot's happening. So maybe we'll try to end up at the end of October where there's a bit more space before you get into the big November push with other titles. And that's kind of Alan Wake 2's biggest thing, is trying to navigate all the stuff happening in October and November. And it seems like October 27th should be a better fit than October 17th. But either way, looking forward to the game when it comes out, and I guess next week when we'll see more. Also, speaking of game events, next month on the 21st, we do have Tokyo Game Show happening, and it seems like we're gonna start seeing some of the bigger publishers maybe announce what they will be there with. And for example, Capcom decided to do this actually yesterday, and you could see this posted up. And we have a nice little card here showing off the different games. Let's see, we have, I guess the big ones would be Apollo Justice, Ace Attorney Trilogy, Exoprimal, Monster Hunter Now, Resident Evil 4 VR mode, Street Fighter 6, also a Resident Evil collaboration with Shooting Range there. Yeah, it's at least the stuff that they're talking about here ahead of the show. Nothing too surprising or mind-blowing, anything like that. I guess, I mean, who knows? Exoprimal's doing the Street Fighter crossover. They could have some other crazy crossover. And Resident Evil 4 VR mode for the PlayStation 5, the VR2, that still needs a release date. Otherwise, though, it's very possible that Capcom could show up with some new announcements that they're not necessarily revealing ahead of time. This is just kind of giving us an idea as to what we can look forward to with Tokyo Game Show on September 21st. Oh, and it does look like Starfield review codes have started to be distributed out to different outlets, press, people on YouTube, and all this. And we now have an idea as to when the embargo is lifting for those reviews. We can see this posted up over on X from Tom Warren, who says that the review embargo lifts Thursday, August 31st, 9 a.m. Pacific or 12 p.m. noon Eastern. And it does seem like a lot of people have the review or the review code now. So it seems like there was a lot of codes at least sent out. And it appears many of them are Xbox codes. So it's not that weird situation where it's all PC stuff getting sent out. Kind of like what happened with Cyberpunk, if you remember that. Now it just seems like Xbox codes are being distributed all over the place. So good news there. And now it comes down to the prediction for Metacritic. It's still tough. I'm going to have to think about this a bit more, but I will give that prediction as we get closer to August 31st when the review embargo lifts. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with the end of an era for Xbox, specifically the Xbox 360, as the storefront for it is shutting down. Now, this is something that I feel like got out there a bit early before, and then Microsoft kind of walked it back or basically debunked the idea of that happening, but now it appears it is actually a thing, and this was posted up over on news.xbox.com, where it says the Xbox 360 store will close July 2024, but you can keep playing your favorite games. Sort of. There should be a little asterisk next to that one, but we'll get to that in a second. But they do mention right off the bat, first sentence, prepare to feel old. This November will mark 18 years. I'm gonna say that again, 18 years since the Xbox 360 launched. Yeah, wow, okay. This says, as we head toward 2024, we have a change to share about the Xbox 360 experience. On July 29th, 2024, Xbox will stop supporting the ability to purchase new games, DLC, and other entertainment content from the 360 store on console and the Xbox 360 marketplace. Related to this change, Microsoft Movies and TV app will no longer function on the 360, which means TV and movie content will no longer be viewable on your 360 after July 29th. Now, you can still purchase stuff currently up until July 2024, so I guess if there's anything you wanted to grab off the store, you can. It is important to note, this will not affect your ability to play Xbox 360 games or downloadable content you have already purchased. So that's locked in. If you've made any of these purchases, you can still download what you need to, say, on your Xbox 360. However, there is a bit of an issue here, as games that would be supported on your Xbox One or Xbox Series system would have to be part of that backwards compatibility program. And as pointed out by VGC, there's more than 220 digital games that will disappear when the Xbox 360 store closes, as in it's not available outside of playing directly on an Xbox 360 console. They have a long list of these games here, and I'll admit, not every one of these is going to jump off the page to you or anything, and I also noticed that many of these games are available currently on other platforms. Think, I guess, of like PlayStation 3 or PlayStation Vita or PSP or Wii or anything like that, right? Where you can still kind of get them, although I guess the Wii stores is shut down too. But if you go beyond that, there's roughly 25 games that will completely disappear. They're not available on any other platform, but that, to be fair, does kind of include things like Fruit Ninja Connect, for example. So I think the Connect games probably aren't going to cause anyone to lose too much sleep over. However, what this continues to reinforce is that, yes, these digital storefronts are time limited. Eventually, they'll be shut down. I mean, the PS3 storefront, remember that whole thing with Sony? They're coming back. They're shutting all of that down, I'm sure, especially after seeing this. And we, of course, know that Nintendo shut down the Wii U storefront and the 3DS storefront. So yeah, many games getting lost to time that way. So it's an unfortunate reality that we seem to have to face. And in this case, I guess it lasted 18 years, but think about that as we go forward towards, yes, that all-digital future where you won't have a physical copy of a game that, yeah, it might go away on the digital storefront, but at least you have it. Otherwise, though, in the future, not the case. Next up, let's talk about the latest device in these PC gaming handhelds, and this one certainly getting as close as possible to the Switch. Of course, the Steam Deck, ROG Ally, those get compared to the Switch all the time, but this one is, I mean, it's right there. This is from Lenovo, and we have some images we can put up here for you. These come exclusive from Windows Report, as they put out, a whole bunch of like concept images and really marketing material for the Lenovo Legion Go. So we heard rumors of this already, and there was a report from Windows Central about them also kind of throwing their hat in the ring, that being Lenovo, for what we've seen from Asus, Ioneo, Valve, of course, with their Steam Deck, and I think the list is going to continue to build over time. I guess this is just a lucrative enough business to take a shot at if you're one of these manufacturers, because if you get it right, then you can kind of take over that PC space in terms of the handheld side. This is interesting, though, because Lenovo certainly looked at Nintendo and said, all right, let's just build that because it has actual Joy-Cons on it. And wow, these Joy-Cons have a lot going on. Remember, people were talking about the scroll wheel and different things that Nintendo might put on their next controller? Well, here it is from Lenovo. They have like this little wheel kind of on the inside part there where the back trigger is. And then they have macro buttons all over this thing. And then, of course, they decided to put RGB around the thumbsticks, and they also have the LEDs on the inside with the rail, again, similar to the Switch. There's touchpads on the front. There's just a lot going on here. This is the epitome of throw the kitchen sink in terms of functionality at the controllers and the Joy-Cons on this new Legion Go. Now, I also noticed on the back, it's utilizing a very similar kickstand to what we see with the Switch OLED, which we've seen kickstands with phones and stuff in the past, but once again, pulling from what we've seen, I guess you could say for Surface or the Switch with the OLED, just kind of that entire back half opens up, and I'm sure it can be angled in different ways. And I had to do a bit of a double take, but at the top there, looks like they've double stacked USB type A ports. I guess one could be an HDMI port or another could be display port or something, but kind of playing into the idea that this isn't going to be a little system. It's going to be fairly thick and probably pretty hefty there. And yes, another system to throw in the bin of these PC handheld devices that we're seeing more and more pop up, and I expect even more to come down the road. But I am curious how many maybe take this kind of approach where they just try to build legitimately their own Switch after what Nintendo did here, and probably not be able to get anywhere close to the price point. This, I'm kind of thinking $600, $700, maybe somewhere in there, but it could be more depending on, of course, the specifications inside along with the storage size, and maybe there could be an option that gets it all the way up to $1,000. It's hard to say with the PC gaming handhelds because it is still kind of the Wild West of this whole situation, but I guess we'll see more as we get closer to Lenovo seemingly ready to announce this entire thing. Next up, let's talk about Embracer Group and an interesting statement that was made by the CEO, because it's kind of being read as, are they telling us that Dead Island 2 is getting ported to the next Nintendo system? We can see this posted up over on VGC as they transcribe the quotation here from the CEO at Embracer, where they say, what we now expect obviously is promotions, but primarily the addition of new content coming through. So there is a significant amount of content coming through for the game in the year that would improve the sales of the base game as well. This describing kind of their strategy going forward for Dead Island 2 and to continue the sales momentum. Then says, then looking a year ahead, we would have a release on another platform that will also drive multiple sales. Well, okay, what's a year from now? Well, we figure a year from now, we'll probably know about Nintendo's next system. I really hope so. And then it's prepared to launch maybe holiday of 2024. And that's kind of what people are running with here. I guess it's possible that Dead Island 2 could be going to Nintendo's next system. In fact, it wouldn't shock me if it did. I don't know if he's necessarily talking about that here, however. Technically, he could be talking about it going to just the Switch. I mean, we saw Dying Light go to it. Not necessarily Dying Light 2, although that was they had like cloud-based stuff for that. But still, they could technically make it work with lowering resolution settings and all of that, I'm sure. The other possibility is that they're talking about a Steam release, because from what I remember, Dead Island 2 was an Epic Game Store exclusive, and when we see games go to Steam, even if it's later on after it's had its time on Epic Game Store, it typically gets a nice little sales bump overall. And for them, with Dead Island 2 and some of the sales figures, that would probably be a notable increase for them, all things considered. And Dead Island 2, I think, is a pretty fun game. It's not gonna be this massive Game of the Year nominee or anything, but I think for what it is, it's a pretty good time, especially if you enjoy kind of going through and hacking and slashing up all different kinds of zombies. But for me right now, I'm kind of seeing this as them talking about Steam as the big platform that they're pushing forward, but who knows, maybe it does show up on Nintendo's next system a year or two from now. And in our last bit of news, speaking of zombie games, we did have a new Walking Dead game that was announced, and let me explain the premise to you first, and then let me know if it's something you like the idea of. All right, so this would cover the first 4 seasons of Walking Dead, which are classic. Like, that's classic television right there, right? Okay, and in this, you would go through, play it kind of like a third-person action-adventure style game, and you would be able to change the storyline with critical details, right? Like, you can decide who lives and dies, and the story will alter because of that. That sounds pretty cool. Well, then we saw the trailer, and you can see some of it here. This was revealed by IGN with an official trailer coming from Game Mill. Yeah, that'll do it. But this is coming to PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch. And it is indeed the idea of reliving the biggest moments from season 1 through 4. And then you can kind of change the outcome and alter the story because of that. So here's the big issue. As I mentioned, you can kind of see in the visual style, the presentation, not the best for a game based on this kind of intellectual property. So you can kind of look at the potential around this idea, and then unfortunately the execution. I mentioned Game Mill because when I see them pop up, I just prepare for lower quality kind of games, disappointment. And they have Flux Games doing this. Flux Games made Cobra Kai and Cobra Kai 2. And if you've seen those games, you kind of know what I'm getting at. I don't know if I'd have high hopes for this Walking Dead game, and it's unfortunate because, as I mentioned, pretty cool idea. And in fact, even the title, Walking Dead Destinies, yeah, it all at least fits together until you get to the publisher and developer. But who knows? Maybe I'll be shocked and turns out to be good, but based on that trailer, I'm not really holding my breath. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're taking a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday. We're asked, are you going to pay the extra money to get Starfield early access on September 1st? If you're unaware, even if you have Game Pass, you can pay extra money. It was like $30 or $35 or something, and get into the game September 1st, so like 5 or 6 days early or so. And that would actually be on a Friday as opposed to like the middle of the week. So for some, might make sense to be able to get it over the weekend, but 8% say yes, I already pre-ordered it. 34% say no, I'm just going to wait for normal release on September 6th. Then 58% say no, I'm not getting Starfield. Now, I will admit that we'll see how reviews turn out because remember that those reviews are going live just ahead of that early access period. So reviews may push people over the edge. It's very possible they see some big 94 or 95 on Metacritic and they realize, oh, I can pay a little extra money now on top of my Game Pass subscription and just jump in and play it over the weekend. So it's possible, but we'll see how those reviews turn out. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Sammy says, I think with Starfield getting bits and pieces of news every now and then, it's a great way to build hype. Personally, I feel like there are going to be so many possibilities to the point where it may be overwhelming to some, but that's part of the journey. So I do look at Starfield based on what they've described as how open-ended it is and how big just the universe is that they've built out. That is a kind of a hard game to market. And also keep in mind, you're making the main character, like you are the main character. There's not like a predetermined protagonist. Like I'm thinking of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Remember marketing was kind of quiet right up until like it was coming out like a month or so before, and then boom, it just exploded online in terms of promotion and all this. But they can center around Link and Princess Zelda and all this, and at least build up the story and show you what you're going to be doing in that. But in Starfield, you kind of do what you want for the most part, so little bits and pieces, as you're mentioning here, is probably the best path for them in terms of marketing and getting the message out to consumers, but also the reviews. I mean, they're getting reviews out now well before release, and in their mind, you know what? It's ready to go. It's gone gold. Now it's up to reviewers. They believe in the quality of the game. So if the reviews come out and they're really, really good, that's all the marketing they need just ahead of early access and about 6 days before release. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Whereas the Xbox 360, after 18 years, finally being shut down, and I guess at this point considered legacy by Microsoft. Let me know some of your favorite memories from that generation. And then also, what about this Lenovo Legion Go that looks suspiciously like the Switch? What do you think it's going to cost, and how do you think it's going to perform in the market? Thanks, guys, for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time for Newswave.